Okay, friends, welcome back to the Ready to Rise podcast. You already know this is the place where we talk about all things goals and just women's personal development. I like to say it's like like the Nell Robbins meets Gabby Bernstein type of place, right? Like it's personal development, tangible tips, all of that. But it's the side of like spirituality and how do we work with crystals and like how do we talk about tarot reading and all of that. Literally, this just reminded me. This has nothing to do with today's episode, but this just reminded me of a time where I started learning how to do palm reading. I don't know, I was so intrigued and I was like, I want to learn palm reading. And it was just so interesting to me. And so a couple of my friends and I, we learned it while we were at work. This is so bad, but it's cool. In our downtime, on our breaks, we were learning how to do palm reading. And then I went on it's like a date not date that night. That's a whole different story that I'll never talk about. But I went out that night with somebody and I was like, let me read your palm. And I was so freaking good at it. This person had their astrology chart read. Um, by like a super, what do I want to say? Like an expert, astrology chart reader, right? Like where they had looked through this person's whole chart and read everything. And so I was legitimately spot on with my palm reading. So anyways, woohoo, welcome, welcome to the podcast. But y'all, I really want to talk right now about my word for 2025 because I think that this is going to light a little fire under your booty. I think it's going to get you feeling some type of way. I think it's going to bring you into calling this word in as well. And like, obviously, no worries. Like, you do not need to copy me. You do not need to copy what I do with my life. And you don't need to take on this word. But I think that this is going to help you find some transformation and start to think about your 2025 year that's coming up. I want to preface this by saying again, I don't want you to go out and set a ton of habits and a ton of new ideas for yourself and all of these new goals and a million things that we're actually not going to do and that are going to fall off later in the year because that's going to lead to self-doubt, lower self-esteem and all of that. But I do want you to get a fire under your booty and just think about like all of the possibilities that we can have, in this new year that's coming up, 2025. So my word of the year is abundance. And I mean that in the best way possible. I think that, and also just real quick, full permission to let your words change and to let your ideas change and to let everything change. As you flow and as you grow as a human, it's okay for things to change. But for me, and again, it might change. Abundance, I think, is the word. I'm just calling in so much abundance. As I'm finishing up 2024, today is the 29th at the time of this recording. I've just been really thinking about it. Like, I'm calling in so much. And I'm not talking about money. I'm not just talking like monetary, because that's actually a place that I do have some blocks and some things I need to work through. But abundance in the sense that like my life is rich and full of abundance. I have so many beautiful connections. I was just looking on Threads and it's crazy. Like I keep meeting all of these wonderful new people on Threads. Like it's insane how many cool, amazing, down to earth people I'm meeting and I love all of you. And then not even just like online in the social media world, but like also just in real life. Like I've been going to so many events, and from one event, I'll meet somebody and that brings me to a different event, and that'll bring me to another event. And it's like meeting these like minded women at these events and retreats, and all of that has been so eye opening for me. It's been truly life changing and transformational because I can be sitting in my world and trying to like read a personal development book and watch less TV and da da da. But it's so different when you're surrounded by women who are doing the same things as you and they want to talk about it and they want to share it. And you get to like be in this world with each other where you're talking about like all of the things that you're doing in real time. And it's like encouraging each other and leading us on to finding, more and more possibilities. That's my abundance, right? My abundance isn't just like, okay, I'm making some money or I'm doing this. It's like hosting retreats and having all these women from all over the world. Like we've had women from Canada, we had somebody from London, I think it was, all over the place. Women are showing up and coming to these retreats. Women are, just truly like transforming their lives in my world. And that's the abundance that I get to take part of. That's the abundance that I get to see in my world on the daily, right? The connections I'm making, the abundance in the fact that I have clean running water that I have access to, the abundance that I get to go to the store and buy groceries and find wonderful things that I get to cook with and make food with and eat, right? Put into my body, nourish myself. Abundance in all these books. If you're watching on YouTube, you always see my bookshelf behind me. All of these books that I get to read, that I get to grow my mind. I have access to so many amazing things in my life. And that's abundance. Getting to sit in that, feel that, getting to be truly lit up by that and encouraged by that. That is the abundance that I get to have in my life daily. And so do you. And whether you want to see that as like abundance, or if you want to see that as gratitude, or if you want to see that in a different way, like go ahead, right? Like check that out, feel into that. That is what is changing our lives, is picking up on the way we want to live and how it's already happening for us and getting to flow into that, feel into it, and grow into it. That's how we become the next version of ourselves that we want to be. The person that we're heading towards, that woman that we want to show up as, is by starting to recognize how we're already doing that in our daily life, how it's already surrounding us in our daily life, and then leaning into that and getting more of that each and every day, right? Abundance to me, like I was saying, it doesn't just mean money. It's just these connections. Literally talking to somebody the other day on social media and just being like, whoa, you live on the other side of the country, but you have so many of the same experiences as me. She was also plus size, also had just a lot of limiting beliefs that were instilled within her, and so much that she was having like a hard time with. And I was like, I have freaking been there. I understand what you're saying. I get you. I get the struggle. I get the feeling that you never feel like you're good enough unless you're a size 0, never feeling like we're worthy unless, all the men in the world are like chasing after us. It's just like this societal belief of all of that, right? That comes in and that impacts us. And I was sharing with her this abundance idea that I'm having, where it's like, instead of me sitting into that negativity, which is so easy to do, we're basically programmed to do it. So, like, don't beat yourself up. But instead of me diving into that like negative energy of like, I'm not good enough because I'm not a size 0, or I don't feel as beautiful as I used to because I'm getting all of these gray hairs coming in. Instead of leaning into that and looking into that, we get to say, like, I am truly abundant because I have a whole community of women who love me. I'm truly abundant because I get to invest in myself and show up at a retreat and pour into myself, right? I'm truly abundant because I get to do so many wonderful things for myself. Little side note, I actually just recently went to the April retreat house and got to tour it, and it's so cool. It's not like high end luxury or anything like that, but the views are. The views are incredible. But it's just like a normal house. It's big. It's definitely got quite a few bedrooms. I'm like trying to count while I talk. I don't think I can do it at the same time. I think it's like a 5-bedroom or something, but it also has a pretty big living room and then like a bonus room where there's a pool table and there's more couches. So there's like a lot of room to spread out, a huge patio on the back, and then there's a little balcony in the front. But the views are breathtaking. There were all of these, like, I don't know what they're called. They're not pelicans. I definitely know those. I don't know, but it was like one of those big, like, long-legged birds that want to hunt the fish. DM me what they're called, you guys. I did not research that before the episode, clearly. But yeah, the house is gorgeous. And speaking of abundance, it was just kind of like this moment while I was touring the house that I was like, this is what I get to do. Literally, this is what I get to do for, I want to say for a living. Y'all know I'm a nurse as well, but like, I get to do this. Like, I get to live this life where we get to go to all of these places all over the world. We're going to be expanding, and I get to come into these beautiful homes and host retreats. And my big thing when I host a retreat is all about the views, the area, where we're going. Like, the last one at Armstrong Woods, I think a lot of you saw that video that I posted where there was this just majestic, like it was like a little baby buck, right? And he was walking through the front yard of that house in the foggy morning, and like the little fairy lights were all strung around, and it was just so pretty. And that's like my goal when I host a retreat. I want us to be able to go out, get away, and just chill and live in that abundance, right? That abundant feeling of like, I deserve to be here. I get to be here. I get to pour into myself. I get to take time off from my life and invest into myself and just sit in this abundance that I'm such a wonderful person, this abundance of positivity around me, this abundance of new friends around me. Like that is that feeling when I host a retreat. And so I was just linking it to that as well, just the pure abundance of these situations. But it starts with us, us saying yes to ourselves, right? That conversation that I had on social media when she came into my request folder, I could have thought, oh, it's spam or it's a, something or whatever. And I could have not connected with her. When I wanted to host a retreat at this house, I could have said, oh, that's too scary. I shouldn't host retreats. No one's going to buy. We have 2 spots left, by the way. But if that had happened, if I had kept saying no to myself or saying no instead of seeing the abundance around me and all of the beauty in this world that I can take advantage of and partake in, my whole life would be completely different. I would have continued to play extremely small and just be this very small version of myself. But instead, here we are, leaning into the abundance, leaning into the beauty that this world has to offer, and just seeing with every day, right? It's just seeing that beauty. And I'm not going to lie, like there are so many times where I'm very negative. I'll share probably in an upcoming episode about a really bad day that I just had. But when we get to turn back into that positivity, turn back into seeing what the world has to offer and looking around, I'm looking out my window right now and just looking around and just seeing the beauty that's being offered to us in this everyday life, that just takes us back to the place that we want to be, right? So whether your word is abundance, whether it's manifest, whether it's my go-to used to always be elevate, empower. Those were some big ones for me. Miracles could be one. I mean, fun could be one. Recess, right? There's so many different words you could choose of just what you want to focus on for 2025. And you don't have to pick just one, right? You can even, some people do like monthly themes. The point is, don't get crazy with it. Don't do anything silly. Don't get crazy, but just do what feels good for you and pour into yourself. And I do have a guide, actually. I have a free guide that is going to help you. It does walk you through kind of choosing your word. And if you want that, it's absolutely free. You just go to helloaudreyrose.com/2025 workbook. And it's at the end of that little workbook. There's a whole, word choosing. I don't want to say ritual, but I guess it's kind of like a prompt, I guess. It walks you through how to do that. And I'll put that link in the show notes. You can also DM me on Instagram. But I hope you have a beautiful and exciting kickoff to your 2025. I know that this year is finally going to be so much better for all of us. I've just been reflecting on that, feeling into that, thinking about that. Like this year is going to be so much better and we deserve it for sure. So I will see you guys soon and love you so much.